Make sure to follow us on Instagram at Whistlethrowers. It's a great way to interact with our show. Our DMs are always open for questions, topic discussions, and more. You will be able to find our new episodes and other announcements there.
And I think Dak is better than Kirk Cousins, too.
I don't know about that one.
All right, thanks for tuning back into the Whistleblowers podcast. This is Jack Mubarak, joined by
Jack Slaymaker.
and Andy Tuczynski, who's finally back in studio.
I am finally back.
Yeah,
It's good to be back.
He's in a Waterboy jersey too.
I am. Yeah. Got this one for Christmas last year, so I figured I'd pull it out. It's almost Christmas again.
Yeah. All right, so we got a full slate to cover. Honestly, this is probably not the biggest story, but Matt Canada got fired.
Yeah.
So what are the expectations for the Steelers now?
I don't know if it's going to be any better. I mean, their quarterback is still Kenny Pickett, and he hasn't showed anything, and he hasn't showed an ability to really hit open receivers and work within an offense. So I'm not sure if anyone they bring in is going to be better. And so I read that they promoted a guy to OC and then promoted another guy to the play calling duties, which is it makes no sense and it reeks of dysfunction.
Yeah.
And I'm nervous for them because I don't know if this is going to get any better. And then what do you do with Kenny Pickett?
There's really nothing you can do.
Uh-huh.
One of the things that I'm happy about seeing is that the guy that was moved up to OC was their running backs coach.
Yeah.
And their running backs have gotten a little bit better in the last couple of weeks.
I would say Jalen Warren.
Yeah,
Jalen Warren's gotten better.
Way better.
I picked him up in my fantasy league.
Yeah, so he's gotten way better. But I will say that Najee Harris is also, you've seen his uptick in carries.
Yeah.
He's getting used a little bit more in the passing game, which was a complaint that early in the season.
Yeah.
So if they can continue that with this offense, you can take less pressure off Kenny Pickett.
Yeah.
And then that could open up the offense.
Agreed.
And they're not totally out of it either.
No.
I think this was the time where it needed to be done. I think it should have been done earlier, but if you're going to do it, you should do it after a bad loss to a division rival.
Yeah.
When you're still in the hunt.
Yep, that's the key right there. And you brought up a good point with Najee Harris. It's funny, I think Kenny Pickett at one point looked good in his rookie season and then hit a decline. And Najee Harris kind of same thing, had a good rookie year, bad sophomore slump, but he's had an uptick in just overall play as a whole. He's been playing better and the volume hasn't been as much because Warren is really getting the load right now. Najee Harris has not sulked, he's been a good teammate and he's fit that role perfectly. Being a backup running back in an offense with a struggling QB is a solid role, and it's an important one.
Yeah, I would definitely say that Jalen Warren is running back one at this point.
No, definitely.
And I can't say that the Steelers' offense is going to boom now, but it's definitely going to be better. I don't know anything about this new OC, but I know he's going to be better than Canada.
Yeah.
Thing is, though, Pickett has been a guy that you can't even bet on him getting a passing touchdown every week.
No.
So that's an issue, and as bad as Matt Canada was, it's not his fault that Kenny's missing wide open receivers.
Right. Yeah.
And he has a better receiving core than a handful of guys do.
Yeah.
Deontay Johnson has really upticked it since he came back into the rotation. George Pickens is a stud, as we all know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Freiermuth is back too.
Yeah.
So he has some weapon. I just haven't seen the play out of him. I don't think we're going to get much better play out of him, but I think it's a step in the right direction.
Yeah, agreed.
I think it's easy to stay in the division and talk about the Ravens because it seems like they're the front runners to win the division at this point, even though they just lost Andrews for the season.
Yeah.
Beat Bengals. Now they're at a perfectly 500 record. It's going to be very hard for them to get into the playoffs because they lost some tiebreakers over some teams.
Yeah.
And they're I think they're third in line for the 7th seed or something.
But
it's not the place you want to be in with guys like the Texans and all that.
Yeah, no.
So I really think the only team that is going to get a spot in this playoff is the division winner.
Yeah.
If I had to bet, it's going to be the Ravens.
Yeah, no, the Bengals are done, I think. Yeah. Burrow being out for the year really just puts a damper on everything. I know they have great weapons, but that offense was ran by Burrow, and it was a machine because of Burrow. And it's going to take a huge decline. And I'm just pulling up their schedule really quick because I haven't looked at it. They don't play necessarily terrible teams. They have Jacksonville, the Chiefs, Minnesota, who's been playing better even despite the loss. But they also play Cleveland, who Cleveland beat them. And they play Pittsburgh twice, which, in my opinion, right now, even putting records aside, I think that Pittsburgh is in a better spot right now than Cincinnati. So that's probably a team that's better than you. You're probably going to be an underdog in both of those games.
There's like zero experience playing footballs in pro league, so it's going to be very rough.
Yeah. And my one point on Baltimore is I'm nervous with Mark Andrews being gone because one of their things, similar to the Chiefs, was that their receiving core doesn't always come up for them, and it slacks when a guy like Andrews is just taken away from the game, meaning the defense strategizes around him. Now he's completely removed from the game. You don't have him at all. That's going to be very difficult for them to overcome, and they don't necessarily have guys right now that I'm like, he can step into Mark Andrews' role anywhere. Not just tight end. There's no receiver that I feel like can do it either.
Yeah, they all like take turns having their
that's not a good formula.
Zay's too young.
I
mean, Isaiah Likely's like probably as good of a backup tight end as you could have, maybe.
Yeah, but still.
Now he's not replacing any production.
Jack, I want to push back on something you said. You don't think the Browns can get a playoff spot?
No, I think they can, but I'm not going to be too high on them because of the quarterback situation.
And I understand that, but look how their defense is played.
Yeah, I know.
And they're 7-3 right now. So even if you slip up a little bit, they're at a much better spot than a lot of these other teams that are 4-5 pushing for playoff spots.
I rarely see defenses like win games week after week after week.
But they only have to win 2 more games. 9-8 would probably get you a playoff spot.
I mean, I'm thinking who are the wild cards right now?
So
Texans.
Yeah.
Well, Buffalo is in the mix in Pittsburgh.
You've got the Raiders are I believe on the outside looking in. So right now it's the Browns are 5th, Texans 6th, Steelers 7th.
And Buffalo
Bills are right behind them. The Colts are there. The Broncos are there. I could see the Broncos passing the Steelers, but I mean, when you're talking about these 3 teams, I like the Texans. CJ Stroud's played really well. I think that they could pass the Browns. But between the Browns, Steelers, Bills, Colts, Broncos, Bengals, the Browns, to me, have been the most complete team, even with the inconsistent play at quarterback.
Yeah, and a positive for them is that they play Denver and Houston, so they have a chance to get head-to-head wins there. And granted, so do Denver and Houston, so it's going to be even both ways in that sense, but it is an advantage for both of them, if that makes sense.
I mean, I will say the Broncos have looked so much better recently.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That win over the Vikings was huge.
And if I'm not mistaken, this game coming up is in Denver between them.
So it will be very, very interesting to see who can win those games. And like I said, I don't totally disagree with that, but I think that it's a little bit disrespectful to the Browns to say that the winner of the division is the only team that could make a playoff spot when the Browns are still...
I love the Browns defense. It's just, I don't see DTR doing that to many other teams besides like the Steelers, maybe.
Are they bringing in a new quarterback?
Didn't they sign Joe Flacco?
I feel like I saw that.
Dude, do you trust Joe Flacco?
I trust Joe Flacco more than Thompson Robinson.
I feel like I trust P.J. Walker and Flacco more than Thompson Robinson.
Flacco more than P.J. Walker.
How long has it been since he's thrown a football?
Wasn't he the backup for the Eagles 2 years ago?
Yeah, and then I think he was with the Jets last year.
Yeah, he played in one game. The Cowboys game. The one where they sat everyone after when they lost 51 to 26.
Okay. All right, you know what? If Flacco has a resurgence with the Browns, you know what? I will apologize.
No. You know what it was? No. Flacco got in with the Jets in 2021 because if we traded him mid-season.
That's right. Yeah, we started Gardner.
Yeah, that game. Yeah, so
that's right. That's right.
Mm-hmm. So he got in with the Jets, and I'm pretty sure he got in with them last year. I think.
Okay, but if you ask me, I don't think either of them are good enough.
No, but are they serviceable enough?
They don't have to be.
I don't know.
The thing is,
I really
they
don't
just
know.
have to be good enough for 2 games.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. Maybe 3. But if you're 9-8, that should almost guarantee you, as long as you win one of these games over the Texans and Broncos, that almost guarantees you a playoff spot.
They're definitely not getting past the first playoff.
I'm not saying they have to do that. I'm just saying they need to make the playoff.
Yeah, and sitting at 7-3. I feel like you just have an advantage either way.
If they don't make the playoffs, even with all the injuries they've had, somebody's getting fired.
Yeah, right.
Probably the entire Kevin Stefanski, if they don't make the playoffs, he's not having a job next year.
Yeah, but like they're
too.
no. Actually, think about this: if they miss the playoffs, do they give Jim Schwartz the head coaching job? Because I mean, there's no way. There is no way you fire him. There's no way.
No, absolutely.
Yeah, right.
It's not his fault.
And like he was a pretty good head coach with the Lions.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah.
And I mean, he was the defense coordinator when the Eagles won the Super Bowl. He has a ton of respect.
He's a great DC. He's a great DC.
It would be interesting to see that. The other thing, too, though, you have to think about, would you want to bring in an offensive-minded coach to coach up Thompson Robinson?
Yeah.
Because now that Deshaun, first of all, just did not look good in the majority of his games.
Yeah.
And then now got hurt.
Mm-hmm.
Like, do you then want an offensive coach to, like, sort of bring him up to be the next starter?
Yeah.
And get ready to move on from Watson, even though it's only been a couple years.
Mm-hmm.
And it's already just looking so bad.
You really can't move on from him.
I know.
You can't trade him because no one's going to want him.
No, I know.
And, like, you can't sit him because of how much money he's making.
But
So,
do you train Robinson to, like, be the backup and sort of prepare him to be a starter in case Watson gets hurt?
Because that's been Watson's track record recently. He's just been mid and injured.
Or suspended.
Yeah, or suspended.
That's where it becomes a little bit more complicated because I do agree that Jim Schwartz would be the first person in mind.
Yeah.
But depending on everything that happens with Watson, and again, this is sort of the Browns dug themselves in this hole when they signed Watson.
Yeah.
Because now you're stuck with him.
Yeah, right.
Through the good and through the bad, and mostly it's been through the bad.
Yeah.
And now this is going to be yet another thing that Watson is going to put the Browns fans through, which is just sucks.
I know.
That's the situation.
Right. Yeah.
We could briefly talk about the Lions and Bears game.
Yeah.
So it was really damn close.
Yeah.
And Goff threw 3 picks. I thought for a while the Bears were going to win this game.
Yeah.
They really should have. Is this like more? Does this say like more about the Bears, or is this like more like a say about the Lions?
I think what this says about the Lions is that they can go through a lot of adversity.
Yeah.
There's been a really down year in the NFL, and that's something that's been talked about recently, where there's just a lot of guys that you would want to play well and teams you'd want to play well that just sort of seem to be playing down to their opponents.
Yeah.
But the teams that are the most successful this year are the teams that play down their opponents and still find ways to win.
Yep.
And the Lions found a way to win this game.
Yeah.
And it wasn't pretty, but the thing that they relied on is their 2-star running backs.
Right.
And if you can make it with those 2 guys and Goff plays way better than he did in that game, they'll be fine.
Yeah.
And the other thing, though, is that the Bears, they're just deflated at this point.
Yeah.
Like, there's been so many chances to win way more games than the 3 they've had.
Yeah.
And they just keep, the way that I said the Lions find ways to win, the Bears just find the worst ways to lose.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's because Justin Field just, in the fourth quarter, just becomes a totally different quarterback. It seems to me that the defense just sort of lets up and then Fields makes a mistake. And then people just blame Fields without blaming the defense.
Yeah.
And that's just not a recipe for a team to have any type of moral support for themselves. And that's what worries me about the Bears, is that this isn't just going to be a this year thing. This is going to be a consistent problem.
Yeah, agreed. And like with Detroit, I agree with you. I think this is an impressive win. And I think some people will be like, oh, you were losing that much to the Bears. Well, you have to keep the same energy for everyone when you say division games are tough. And like, that's a tough game for the Lions, regardless of how good or bad the Bears are. So I think it shows resiliency for them to go down that much and still keep their heads up and come back and win the game and make that even a close game, because they really looked dead in the water and everything they were trying to get was just being deflated by interceptions and turnovers of all kinds of sorts. And the Bears, I mean, their offensive coordinator, in my opinion, is so pathetic. They were up, I believe it was 3 or 6. I can't remember. Or they were up 5. They were up 26-21. And it was in the fourth quarter. And they have a chance to really deflate the clock and put pressure on the Lions. And he runs, it was pretty much what the Eagles did in the fourth quarter. Like the just weak screens that are just televised and easy for the Lions to read. And they jumped all over it, obviously. Then they have to like do some desperation heave on a 3rd and long, because obviously that's when Hutchinson pins back his ears and gets after the quarterback, and you're just not going to stop him that many times. And Fields had a good shot, and the receivers are just terrible. And the receiver couldn't track it and run under the ball Because Fields actually, I think, put up a really nice pass, and it was very catchable for the receiver on that third down. But that's the drive where you lose the game because you can't take away any clock. You can't string together a couple first downs and kick a field goal and ice that game. That's on them. Aiden's right. They've been in so many games that they've lost this year. Like, you think about them blowing this one to the Lions. They blew a similar game to Denver.
Yeah. That Denver one reminds me so
just
much
kills.
of this one, where you just had a 2-possession lead late into the game and just blow it. And that just can't happen.
Yeah, right. And there's so many reasons for Bears fans to be angry. I think that this is off season they let go of Ryan Poles, their GM.
Yeah.
Because there's just no excuse. You've had many opportunities and you've really only hit on a couple moves.
Yeah.
Like, I don't even know if Fields is a hit anymore.
Yeah.
And DJ Moore was a good trade, I feel like, to get that value and like retain that first round pick. But do you trust Ryan Poles with 2 first round picks in the top 10? No, I fire him and I get someone in here that can make decisions or a fresh face. And
the worst thing they did was not re-sign David Montgomery.
I think the worst thing they did was trade a second round pick for Chase Claypool.
Oh, well, that was,
I think that was the worst one. I think that was the worst one. You think about how valuable a second round pick is in the NFL to get a top 50 player.
It was
the first
third, so
that
was basically a late first. Yeah, no, that was the worst one.
Special teams on Miami, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah. Like, you don't even have him anymore. No. That's a disaster. Yeah. And think about the value of a second round pick. Jalen Hurts was 53rd overall. Yeah. And I know that they have their QB, but honestly, you could get anything out of that.
The Bears have done so many bad ones that I totally blanked that they did that. But that's...
Yeah, right, because it's like...
Yeah, because the one to me, I think it's the fact that David Montgomery was one of the reasons why the Lions won this game.
Yeah.
So I'm just sitting there like, man.
Oh, yeah, no, I know.
Had this
yeah.
Claypool's is out of my mind because he's done nothing.
And think about other guys. Like, I know Khalil Mack hasn't really done anything since leaving, but I believe that's a mistake, letting him go. I believe that letting Roquan Smith go is a mistake for no value.
I don't understand. Like, I understand that Roquan wants to win, which he's doing.
I know, but
Baltimore, but you
build
have to keep guys like that you draft.
Yeah, show that you have a winning mentality.
Like Kansas City and Philadelphia so good? Because you're able to retain the guys that they drafted for long term.
Mm-hmm.
The Bears draft the right guys occasionally and then let them go.
Yeah.
And then trade for guys that are absolutely horrible and think that will fix the mistakes of letting the guys go that they drafted.
Yeah.
That's just not how it works.
And at the end of the day, you look at the teams like Cincinnati and San Fran and Kansas City and Philadelphia and Baltimore even. Those teams have great front offices and great coaching staffs. And that's... Like, I think that's the biggest problem for Chicago right now.
Even Pittsburgh, that's one of the reasons why they're always so good.
Yeah, right. And, like, think about the players they have. It's very similar to Chicago. Like, a shaky O-line, but a decent one. And then, like, an quarterback, like, who loses you games a lot.
Because they make sure to keep those guys around.
Yeah.
Like, they could have easily, at this point, said... Wow, we're not really in contention, so let's trade T.J. Watt for next year.
Yeah.
But they keep those guys around and then still make it to the playoffs. Maybe they'll lose early on, but at least they'll say, hey, we're trying to be competitive.
Yeah, right.
Where the Bears, it feels like they give up almost immediately when the season starts going into the tank.
And, like, Pittsburgh, I think, is in a good spot, too, because they have flexibility to get a quarterback in there. And, like, they're an attractive destination. Everyone will vote. Mike Tomlin just got voted by the players as the coach I'd most want to play for.
Yeah. And the thing is that for the Bears, I don't think replacing Fields fixes anything.
No, neither do I.
Just throwing in look, they already drafted Trubisky, and yes, I know Trubisky was definitely not the right guy for that team, and really he's just a backup.
Yeah.
But they then move on to him and say, okay, we're going to do our thing and get another great quarterback. They get Justin Fields, who had time to show promise, but I don't think he's the type of elite quarterback they were looking for.
No.
So now with this first overall break, they said, we're going to get the top elite quarterback. I don't trust them to get that guy.
Neither do I.
Never done it.
Yeah, and I don't think that's how you build. I think they need to keep going with Fields for a little bit longer, at least, like, give him a little bit longer to prove.
Super Bowl was won with Jim McMahon. No one would consider McMahon the best quarterback ever, but if you build a team around a decent quarterback, he will win you football games.
Yeah, they need to go inside out. Like, they need to get a tackle, I think, that, like, changes the direction of their offense.
Am I overreacting when I say that Tommy DeVito has played a better game than Daniel Jones in I don't know how long?
I mean, that was a really good performance against a pretty good defense.
Yeah.
Has Daniel Jones played better than
the last time that
246?
Daniel Jones threw 3 touchdowns in the game was 2021.
and you paid him like $40 million.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
And Devito just did that in his second start.
Yup.
That's really bad.
Does not look
But
good.
Didn't everyone call the Daniel Jones contract a disaster though? I feel like maybe not everyone went disaster stretch, but everyone I think felt like it wasn't going to work.
Except that one kid in our comments.
One, dude.
Yeah,
One.
else.
I was just going to bring up that post. I'm like, dude, did you see how many comments flooded that
Yeah.
Giants post?
There was
And they're
a
like,
lot of people that thought he should. Look, what I said, and I was the one that was talking in that post, all I said was that it would be hard for Daniel Jones for himself to argue he shouldn't get that money because the team didn't build around him.
yeah.
That's all I said.
Mhm.
I didn't say that he absolutely deserved it. I just said that if you're going in with that type of argument, and that's pretty much the money that he got is what I
Yeah.
said he was going to be asking for.
Yeah.
The Giants seem to agree with me and say, no, we didn't build around him.
Yeah.
But they still haven't built around him.
No,
And I
no.
get that DeVito played well, but it seems like the Giants have the Commanders' number this year.
Mhm.
And that's the only team that they're consistently playing well against.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah. And
So, I don't know, not to cut you guys off,
No,
I
you're
don't know if
good.
it's because DeVito's actually a better quarterback than Daniel Jones.
Mhm.
It could just be that no one has film on him. But I do think that there's
Could
something
be.
to be said to the fact that they can figure out the Commanders better than any other team.
Yeah, I agree. And like I wanted to say too, like you and me were in the post in the comments, like we weren't the ones talking. You didn't clip us, but we were talking and telling them that this isn't going to work. He's not worth that, and you are handcuffing yourself, paying a bad quarterback $40 million. He's a bad quarterback.
Yeah.
He is. My biggest issue was like you're paying Saquon so much money,
Yeah,
and they essentially do the same things.
yeah,
Like, you're putting so much. You're going all in on the run game because like no one's ever gonna say, "Oh, look at that Daniel Jones pass."
yeah,
Yeah.
right.
It's like look at his run. Like,
Uh-huh.
There's still Giants fans, though, because I
Mhm.
follow a couple of NFC East
Yeah.
pages on Facebook and Instagram. There's still Giants fans defending Daniel Jones. Like, as of 2 weeks ago.
That's sad. That's really sad.
I mean, dude.
I'm gonna.
So listen, I yeah, I know.
I'm tagging him.
I was late to the Carson Wentz bandwagon because I liked him and I wanted him to succeed. And like, so I understand from that standpoint for every Giants fan, dude. How much longer can you hang on to this?
Yeah.
Well, I
He's
think,
just
again,
not good.
part of it, though, is that Giants fans realize that they never really built a decent line around him.
Agreed.
Something that DeVito did well is that
Yeah.
he got the ball out quicker, but Daniel Jones was the type of quarterback that wants to go through his reads.
Yeah.
And if you don't
Definitely.
give him the time to do that, then he's not going to be successful. Like, I still think, no, I don't think he's worth $40 million. Do I think that if he's on a team with a much better line, that he's actually a decent-looking quarterback? Yeah, I do.
But is he better than like Kirk Cousins?
No.
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 Okay, but
So then,
okay,
like, I
but
don't-
Kirk Cousins was basically like an MVP caliber quarterback.
I don't think he's
hurt.
No, I
wouldn't even give him.
I wanted to say though, I think Kirk Cousins is like the lowest bar that is like Super Bowl caliber quarterback.
Dude,
Well,
honestly, he's in the Derek Carr.
I think-
Yeah, Daniel Jones is closer to Derek Carr than
Agreed.
Cousins.
Yeah, no, I don't think he's close to Kirk Cousins.
No.
I don't
No, I
think
said
Daniel.
it's closer to Derek Carr than
Yes.
Kirk Cousins.
No, agreed.
But
Yeah,
Dak is
no, I
way
definitely
better.
agree with you.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, right.
better.
Yeah, and I think Dak is better than Kirk Cousins too.
I don't know about that one.
I don't know.
Here's the
Especially after this year, that was like his most efficient season until he tore his Achilles.
Yeah. Here's the thing that people don't give Kirk Cousins credit for is the fact that he always puts up great stats. Yeah, his teams
Yeah.
don't really ever win anything, but he still puts up consistently like top 10 passing stats.
I think Dak does too, though. Don't
Dak
you?
turns over the ball too much.
Yeah.
He hasn't this year.
Yeah,
And
he's
that's
been a
one
lot
reason-
better at it
he's
this
been
year.
a lot better this year. But I'm
I
just
think-
saying, historically, if we're going to be talking about these types of quarterbacks,
Uh-huh.
Kirk Cousins historically does not turn over the ball at the same rate that
Yeah.
Dak Prescott.
Yeah, no, definitely. And like, I agree with you too when you said Kirk Cousins was playing at an MVP caliber pace. I think Dak Prescott is too. Like, and I think that by the end of the year, Dak Prescott could play his way into the MVP conversation.
Well, but I
Like, I'm
think-
talking top
yeah,
three.
Yeah. I think he played too bad for too long in the beginning of the season, though.
I don't know that he did.
Personally,
I don't know that
no.
he's still putting up like top QB
Yeah.
numbers
And
though.
the thing is that the MVP race is so wide open
Yeah.
Like, you would think it would be either Mahomes or Jalen Hurts, but both of them have turned over the ball way too much to be considered.
Yeah.
And both of them haven't had like the MVP performance. I think Dak has had more MVP performances than both
I
of them.
100% agree. The only thing that you could hold against Dak is the fact that 49ers game was so bad on national TV.
Yeah.
And look, the Cowboys play on national TV a lot.
Yeah.
So you get a better chance to see it, but that one, it's the game that you're like, if you're a Cowboys fan and you're hoping for a Super Bowl run, you want that win.
Yeah.
And to see it go down the way it did, they might be held against them. But like I said, the race is so wide open. If the Cowboys can come in if they can win the division, which I don't really see happening, especially now the Eagles won.
Definitely.
But if they can finish 5th and Dak continues to play the way that he has, I think he could win. I think CJ Stroud's up there too, but he had a really bad game last week.
Yeah, right.
So that tanked his chances.
Yeah.
So I think Dak is up there. I do agree with you.
Yeah, and like I think that if Dallas wins 12 games, I don't know if that's necessarily good enough to win the division, because I think now the Eagles have kind of solidified themselves to get over 13.
Yeah. They need to win in Dallas.
Yeah, they need to, definitely.
I mean, it's pretty well known.
Well, I don't know if they need to, because I think, like, let's put it this way. If that's in the end of the year, if that's the only game you lose, obviously, you're going to be good. Like, Dallas, I don't think, can catch you.
Well, hold on. Do the Eagles play we play the Giants twice?
Yeah.
Yeah, but the thing is,
and
right
Arizona.
now,
So if our last 3 games are against 3 not great opponents.
If the Eagles and Cowboys go into the game in Dallas with both of them winning up to that game, Dallas is still going to be 2.5 behind. So even if they win that, they're still 1.5 behind, and the Eagles play Seattle, Giants, Cardinals, Giants. So like, even if you say Seattle is a game they could lose, you'd still be half a game behind. This advantage that the Eagles have is like extremely underrated.
I'm saying that the Cowboys need to win that game.
Oh, that's what you're saying.
Yeah.
I thought you were saying the Eagles did.
No.
Oh, okay.
Well, I mean, I do still think whoever wins that game probably has the best chance to win the division. That's my opinion.
We'll see. Because I don't see the Eagles losing a game, though, other than that one. I think they could lose that game, but I don't see them losing a game.
You don't see them losing the 49ers?
No. I don't see Buffalo or San Fran coming close to them.
I don't...
They're going to lose one of these. I think they're going to lose 2. They're going to lose the Dallas one, and they're going to lose one of these other ones. I don't know which one. My feeling is more leaning towards 49ers, but I don't think they go through this with only one loss. This gauntlet of the schedule. That's just my...
I think they do. Honestly, like when they went into the Dallas game at home, that was the start of the 6-game stretch that I was like, they'll probably go 3-3.
Is your opinion changed after the Kansas City game?
For what?
Like, going into the stretch, did you think that they were going to go undefeated except for Dallas? Or did your opinion change on that?
No. I think it also changed when they beat Dallas at home, too. Because I was like, I knew both of the Dallas games were going to be tough. I thought if we lost the home one, we were going to win the road one, and vice versa. I thought we were going to lose. I predicted us to lose to KC. Not that I didn't believe we could go win. I did. But I thought, my objective opinion, I thought we were going to lose that. And I have said from the beginning, Buffalo and San Fran, I thought we were going to win. Yeah. So I was like, we need that one Dallas game, and then we need to, if we could scrap out that Kansas City, I'm like, we pretty much lock up the one.
I still don't understand all the hype around Buffalo. I don't get it.
They're going to be desperate. They're going to be desperate.
Saying, but people are still acting like, oh, Buffalo, that's such like a tough game. Anyone that now has Buffalo on their schedule, I'm not just saying the Eagles, I'm saying the entire NFL. I'm not worried about Buffalo.
Neither am I.
They haven't looked good.
No.
At least at a level that we all thought they were going to be at the beginning of this year.
And I know Kansas City's weapons aren't up to the caliber of San Fran, Dallas, or Buffalo, but I think the Eagles holding down that offense is a huge positive, and like that is giving me even more confidence going into these games. Like, I'm actually going to predict the Eagles to win the Dallas game on the road.
Damn.
I know how tough it's going to be, but I'm going to predict it because they should have effing won the one last year. That was BS. Like, not saying like ref or anything. I'm saying it was just BS that we freaking lost that game because we should have won. We missed out on too many opportunities.
The thing is, like, Stephon Diggs has not been playing well this year. At least the last couple games.
Yeah.
Josh Allen has really struggled to get certain receivers involved in the offense as a whole. And there's still a hesitation around like playing James Cook.
Mm-hmm.
Like he should be getting 20 touches a game,
Yeah.
minimum. And
You're not just saying that for fantasy purposes?
no, I'm really not, because he's averaging like 5 yards a carry.
Well, I would say 15 minimum. I would say 15 minimum.
That's too
because but you do have to spread the ball more.
Yeah.
To who?
I mean, Diggs, Allen, I feel like has to get a couple
Okay, well,
carries.
Diggs has been getting locked up a lot recently.
I know, but you do need to get him involved if
So-
you want to have a good offense.
Yeah, I just put up the Bills' schedule. It's Eagles,
It's tough.
bye,
It's
Chiefs,
so tough.
Cowboys, Chargers, Patriots, Dolphins. I think the only game they're going to win the rest of the way is the Patriots.
Maybe Chargers. Too.
Maybe
They look
Chargers.
terrible.
I was going to say, like, all those sound like losses. Chargers is a toss-up, and then
That's
Patriots
the
is a
only
win.
toss-up, though, outside of the Patriots win.
And let's be real, they lost to the Patriots.
Yeah, I think the Patriots, though, that's
I know it's gonna be in
the
Buffalo.
last game of the year.
Hmm.
The Patriots are going to be so dead by that point. What
I
motivation
know.
do you have?
But I also feel like that's low-key, like, when a football team's at the scariest point. Especially, like, if Buffalo's fighting for a playoff spot, New England could be like, F them.
Yeah,
like,
it was
let's
like
knock
the
them out.
Texans like a year or two ago.
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
Lovie Smith. Like,
Oh, I got another good one, too. Andy Dalton beat
Yeah.
the Ravens to get the Bills in the
Buffalo in the
playoffs.
playoffs, yeah.
Like, that kind, and they had, like,
Yeah.
3 wins.
Well, I mean, look, it happened to the Lions last year, too.
Yeah.
I think that Bill Belichick is going to be checked out by that point.
I could definitely see it.
Don't think that they're going to be the type of team to be motivated.
It's either going to be...
Bill Belichick
yeah.
has that ability to motivate people anymore.
no,
I agree. I think that game's going to go one of 2 ways. Patriots win a tight, ugly, really close game, or they get the doors blown
So
out.
if they get blown out, and Belichick is still the coach, because there's
Oh,
still,
no.
I think there's still an opportunity that he gets fired before that.
Dude, I've been dodging this for
Yeah.
so long
So,
because, like, what the
here's
hell
where
do
it
you
comes
do?
up. Because I think that, I've said this before, I think that Kraft should let it play out the rest of the season. If it ends really badly and they want to let Belichick go, give him some dignity. However, if you get crushed by Buffalo in the second to last game of the season, you only have like 3 wins at that point.
Mm-hmm.
Do you then just like cut your losses and say that this is not acceptable as an organization?
I don't think Robert Kraft has the balls to do that.
Neither do I. But I will say this, like, I always bring up Eagle comparisons, but think about where the Eagles were in 2012, 4-12,
Yeah.
embarrassed by the Giants in the last game of the year,
Yeah.
and they had the decision to fire their best head coach in their team's history, and they did, and like you said, like, they let him go out with grace and dignity.
Yeah.
So, like, they did it honor both ways,
Right.
and there was no bad blood, obviously. The Eagles doing that, like, it completely flipped the
Yeah.
direction of their franchise. Like, I know they went through a small dark stage with Chip Kelly,
Yeah.
because really the only dark year
Wasn't
of
even
his...
the GM.
Yeah, of
Let's be for
2015.
real.
That was the
He
only
was
dark
10-6,
year.
2 years as a head
Yeah,
coach.
yeah, like, he was good.
And then they gave him
Those 2 years, yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm, yeah.
And that was the one bad year, and then Doug's first year when he had to rebuild the entire roster. Yeah, those were the only 2 bad years. And still 7-9 for 2 bad years,
Yeah.
quote unquote.
Mhm.
Like most franchises.
And then you won the
would
Super Bowl.
right, most franchises would be okay with
Yeah,
that.
and now you've been a perennial
Right.
playoff team
And
since then.
that's the thing about the Patriots is like we're talking about the Eagles with Andy Reid as the greatest head coach in their franchise history, and he didn't win anything.
Mhm.
Bill Belichick is one of the
Yeah.
most successful.
Yeah, there
He's
is...
probably if you're going to argue about like best coaches, it's
Yeah.
going to be him and Vince Lombardi.
Yeah.
Those are like it. Like
Yeah.
that's the pedestal that Bill Belichick.
Yeah, that's the thing. At that time in Eagles history, 5 NFC championships was like the
Right.
standard for that franchise.
Yeah.
And now, think about when Bill Belichick entered the Patriots. They were the Jaguars or the Browns,
they
whatever.
had 2 Super Bowl appearances.
Ever.
One was getting blown out by the Bears in '85, and the other was that horrible loss to Green Bay.
Yeah,
and that's
Brett
it.
Favre. Yeah, uh-huh.
Yeah, and
And-
then they literally like
are the cream of crop franchise in the NFL. They literally in 20 years took over the lead for most championships.
Yeah.
Like it's
So I do think that they don't fire him, but I will
I
say
agree.
if they're really, really bad still at that point, and you lose to Buffalo,
yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if there's some rumblings after that.
No, definitely. But I think, in
could
my
see
honest
that, yeah.
opinion, I think that they're going to let him get the record for most wins.
Yeah.
Because he's not far off it. But it's like, I think it's like 10. And honestly, that could take like 2 years.
Do you give him Do you give him another year after this year, though?
No.
No, trust me, if it was me, no. But I think that's what they're going to do. Because I think I low-key also think that, like, Robert Kraft is scared when he fires Belichick.
What's
like Belichick will leak some shit. Like, there's going to be a documentary and stuff is going to come out. Like, bad stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I can't wait for the 30 for 30 on that team.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Oh, it's going to be interesting.
I think we could finish with the Eagles Chiefs.
Yeah.
So the offensive line is terrible. You said it last week.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's terrible. They only show up for the brotherly shove.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how the Eagles won this game. If I'm being honest, like Chiefs had it.
Yeah. Well, I want to say it was a great game, and listen, I was overreacting mid-game, calling the Eagles O-line trash and stuff. Like, they were pissing me off, but
they were trash that game.
They were trash that game, but they aren't trash. And, like, you got to give them credit because they did come up on those big 2 touchdown drives in the second half. Like, they gave Hurts time to hit that deep ball to Devontae. They were giving Swift lanes. Like, and I feel like those were the only 2 guys on offense that really were doing anything. I think they like willed the Eagles offense to those 2 touchdowns in the second half, Swift and Smith, and Hurts too. But I think the O-line played really solid on those drives, which was super important. But the Eagles won this game on the defensive side of the ball, specifically the D-line. They were giving Mahomes pressure all game. And like, it wasn't necessarily getting home, but they were hitting him and making him make quicker decisions and tougher throws where receivers weren't necessarily ready for the ball. Like, I think people are overdoing the drops just a little bit. Like, the Valdez-Scantling one, terrible. Yeah. Terrible drop. The Kelsey one on that third down, terrible.
Yeah.
Can't happen. And then the Watson one on the 4th and 25, really bad. Yeah. But I think some of the other ones were like, they were like moving and then the pressure got to Mahomes and he had to get rid of the ball. Yeah. So the receiver also had to make the split decision to stop and come to the ball and stuff. So like, it was tough.
The defensive line didn't get enough credit for the one.
They
didn't have as many sacks as I think people were hoping for as much pressure as they got.
Yeah.
This is what they've been doing all year, is putting pressure on the quarterbacks to force them to make mistakes.
Yeah, right. And the Chiefs' O-line is great, too. The interior of their O-line is really, really good. Tooney and their center, I'm drawing the blank on his name, but I can't forget this guy's name. Creed Humphrey, sorry. They are studs. They are 2 of the best in the league at their position. And they got pressure on a really good O-line. And the secondary, you got to give a lot of credit to the secondary. They had their moments where they kind of had letdowns, but they also came up more often than not, I felt like. And against a great quarterback and a great receiver in Travis Kelce. And
he had a pretty quiet night.
Kelce, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Outside the 1 touchdown.
Yeah.
I mean, the fumble was really bad.
Yep.
He was shut down for the majority of the first half.
Yeah.
I think he only had 1
reception.
So.
Yeah. And Byard baiting Mahomes into that pick, too, in the red zone was really, that was a veteran savvy move. So I really liked what the Eagles did. This was a great win for them.
I think what's the more interesting storyline to me, because everyone's going to talk about the Eagles now being 9-1, having very solid spots, like at finishing first overall in the conference. Yeah. The Chiefs are now behind Baltimore for the first seed. And I don't think it's going to stay that way. But if I'm a Chiefs fan, I'm so happy that they've got their defense figured out. Now their offense, it looks like that you gave way too much money for Mahomes and then sort of patched up the wide receivers.
Yeah.
And that's not a recipe for winning.
And the other thing is, like, you are deadlocked with 4 teams at 7-3, which I think they are the best of those 7-3 teams. But at the same time, if you have another slip up like this, which it's like you've had them multiple times, like you could be looking at the 3 or 4 even seed in your conference. Which is unheard of
territory for the Kansas City.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So I would be really, really, really nervous as a Chiefs fan right now. Because Jacksonville, I know they got smoked by the 49ers, but if you think about it, besides the 1 loss, which now you are tied with Miami, Chiefs, and Browns, the same amount of losses, it doesn't hurt conference record. It doesn't hurt division record. It's not a terrible loss. You still have a lot of hope if you're Jacksonville to like get the 2 seed or even sneak the 1 seed, because the Ravens play in a bloodbath of a division and you play in more of a cakewalk of a division. You only have 1 game against Houston left. So I think Jacksonville low-key could snag the 1.
We can move into basketball if you guys really have anything. I will start. Chet is looking like a stud.
Yeah.
Wemby in the last couple of games hasn't been looking as great.
Yeah.
But did you guys see Chet's turnaround fadeaway 3-pointer with the buzzer?
Mm-hmm. Dude, filthy. Filthy. I've done that at the Y so many times.
That team, I saw a stat on Instagram. That team is averaging 50, 40, and 90.
As a team, that's freaking unheard of.
Yup.
Like, when Steph did that as a player, it was absurd.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, wow.
Like, they're legit. Like,
They are. They are.
The right way.
Yeah.
And see teams like the Cavs who have just as much talent, but, like, they can't mesh.
I think that Cavs low-key have more talent if you think about it. At least veteran talent in a way. Like Mitchell and even Garland now is considered a vet in my opinion.
Yeah. It's wild to see how the Thunder have been able to come back.
Mm-hmm.
And then the teams like the Grizzlies that like we thought were going to be contending for a Western Conference title have now just totally flipped.
Yep.
Oh, yeah. It might get to the point where, like, when Ja comes back, it might be over.
Yeah. Right. I totally agree.
They're just, And I think the Thunder have shown, like, if you put in the time for a proper rebuild, and not just, like, I feel like the Grizzlies, they definitely went through a rebuild period, but to me, they rushed it. They thought, okay, now we have our 2 to 3 guys that we need, we're going to make a run for the title.
Yeah.
Where I still don't think the Thunder are even close to being finished.
No, neither do I.
So the fact that they're 10-4, have all these draft picks coming up,
and
are competing for like the 3rd spot this year, like that's gonna be a dangerous team for years.
Yeah, and another dangerous team I want to mention too is Indiana.
Yeah.
Because I don't know if they'll necessarily make noise for the East this year. They have their guy. I mean, Halliburton is a superstar. I was at the game when they lost to Indiana. Halliburton is a freaking superstar.
Yeah.
He put up 37 again tonight.
Finish as of right now. They're gonna be 3-0.
Yeah.
In the play-in tournament, and their only team left is against Detroit.
Yeah.
So they're gonna win this pool. It looks like.
Yeah. Right.
Which did not think that was gonna be possible.
No.
Like, I know that the play-in tournament's a little bit controversial because people aren't paying like super close attention. Like some people are, but like some aren't. But it's still pretty telling to me that Indiana is going to be the one to win this pool.
Totally. Yeah. And the Sixers and Cavs are in a dogfight right now for the they both need this to get that second spot in their pool. They're tied right now.
So I forget how it works. There's quarterfinals, right?
Yeah, but I think I think there's 3 teams that win the pool in each conference, and then I think if I'm not mistaken, it's either 2 or 3 wild cards that get in.
So it's I think you're right. It's the 3 pool winners and then 2 wild cards.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
I don't know if the Sixers make it then.
I don't know. I mean, they have to win this game.
Well, they have to win this game, but their point differential is horrible.
What is it?
It's only like plus 10, which isn't bad, but
it needs to be better.
It's not good considering the pool that they were in.
Yeah.
Like, the fact they only beat Detroit by 8 was not a good win.
Mm-hmm.
And I haven't really looked at some of the other pools, but I know that it's been pretty competitive, all the way through. Like, there's not a whole lot of undefeated teams.
Yeah, I know.
Right back, really.
Yeah, they need to. I mean, I think they've looked fine without him. There has been a noticeable dip, but it's not like it's catastrophic. But I think getting Oubre back is going to be a huge plus for them.
I know what the Sixers should do. They should have Oubre sit courtside and just stare at the ball handler.
He is an oddly very attractive human being. It's very weird.
He brings out the gay side in me.
So getting back to basketball, in the Eastern Conference, so we talked a lot about the top 3 teams, being the Sixers, the Bucks, and the Celtics. The Heat are 9-5 right now.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think they make another run?
Yeah. I said to you guys before the year, I think Miami was the team behind Boston and Milwaukee. Yeah. And now I said, I think it's Boston, Philly, Miami, and Milwaukee. I think Miami and Philadelphia have jumped Milwaukee. I think Miami is a great pick for the East. Yeah. They have given Boston fits, and they're just a scrappy team that gets in every game.
I'm not buying the Bucks this year, especially moving forward is a question. But this year, I don't see it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The Magic also have the same record as the Heat, though. And I know it's early.
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to stay that way. But it is still kind of weird.
I do like them, though.
They've got a decent...
I think they have a good future.
I think will be very good for the future.
I think the Franz Wagner is very good.
Yeah, and they have Wendell Carter. Like, they've got a really interesting team of, like, a bunch of guys that, like...
Yeah.
You thought were going to be good on other teams, and then they just sort of ended up on the Magic. And now they're just got, like, a motley roster that they might, like... Like, again, I don't think they're going to compete the same way that they are right now.
Agreed.
But if you're the 8th seed, like, this could be one of those seeds we talked about last year, where they sneak in and do something a little bit, like, dangerous.
Right. Even, like, take 2 from the first overall seed.
Make it, like, a 7-game series for a team that thought they were going to blow past them.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Agreed.
I mean, again, everyone has to stay healthy for that to happen because they don't have a roster with, like... I think Cole Anthony's the closest thing they're being their number one, and Markelle Fultz is having an okay season as well. But those are, like, the 2 guys you have to rely on to score your points.
Mm-hmm. I mean, Paolo, too.
Paolo's been having a good year, too. I just don't know in a playoff spot.
Oh, yeah.
I'm saying, like, you want to rely on, like, your younger guy.
Yeah, that's definitely true.
And I don't know if Paolo can, like, hold up. But I just don't know enough about him to be able to say that.
Especially, like, if they're the 8 playing the 1 Boston.
Right.
Like, he's going up on Tatum.
They have Joe Ingles, too, which I didn't even know, like...
I didn't know he went there. I did not know that. I didn't know he was still in the league.
Yeah, he's playing, like, 20 minutes a game and 3.5. But...
okay. Yeah. Well, I liked him when he was on Utah. Like, remember they were always the 1 seed for whatever reason? Like, I liked him.
Yeah. Yeah, Wagner's is their leading scorer. So that's it's interesting. They're a weird team. But
I like how they're built.
There's one of those teams I want to follow because they're
Me too. Do
you guys have anything else?
I do have 1 point for college football. This is like the most wide open I've seen the field in since the playoff has started. So I'm very excited for the back half of the season.
Yeah, especially the conference final between Alabama and Georgia. Because if Bama loses, they're out.
Yeah, right.
I've been seeing some really weird scenarios.
Same.
Where, like, if Texas were to win the Big 12, Florida State, Washington go undefeated, and there's one other team that's also, like, right on the edge that's not an SEC team, but if they also go undefeated, I have to pull it up. But there's, like, a chance that if Georgia were to lose to Bama, that there's no SEC team in the which I don't think would happen.
Yeah.
But the fact that we're even talking about that being the scenario is wild.
Yeah, agreed.
So that SEC championship is probably going to be the most watched one for me.
Definitely. Me too.
But I also want to see if Washington can stay undefeated.
Me too, because I do kind of want to see Washington and Florida State in, and I would actually like to see Texas get in.
I would love to see Texas get in.
Yeah, me
Especially,
too. I want some
and the thing
teams.
is that it would be hard pressed for me to say Bama should be able to pass them.
Yeah.
Considering Texas holds the head-to-head tiebreaker.
On the road, too, right? Yeah.
So I think that would be held against Bama if they somehow beat Georgia.
Agreed.
But I think if Georgia has the 1 loss...
And I think the committee hasn't really liked Georgia.
No, they haven't.
Like, they dropped them for nothing.
Oh, that's right. It could be Ohio State. That's the teams I've been forgetting is Ohio State and Michigan.
Yeah.
So whoever loses that game's out.
Yeah.
So, and pretty much everyone that's going to win the Big Ten. So we could see Ohio State undefeated, Washington undefeated, Florida State undefeated, and a 1-loss Texas team.
Yeah.
And no Georgia or Alabama if Georgia's to lose.
Yeah, right. Because actually, that scenario does make sense because Georgia 1 loss, no conference chip. Right. Texas would get that.
Would lose the tiebreaker, and if the other teams are undefeated, you can't put a 1-loss Bama team in front of them.
No, and I don't think you put 1 loss, no conference champion Georgia in.
But again, it would have to. It
depends on the other teams.
Yeah, the only way this plays out is if Ohio State / Michigan, Washington, and Florida State all go undefeated the rest of the way out.
And Texas
only finishes when the lone loss and wins the Big 12.
And Texas is known to choke. So.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm thinking. Like, they're playing Texas Tech next week. I fully expect them to lose that.
Is it on the road?
So fitting. I have no idea if it's at road or on the home.
What are they ranked right now?
Texas is 5th, right?
5th?
Yeah.
I haven't really checked them in a while because I know
they just came out tonight with the new one.
Oh, okay.
So let me quickly pull that up because I need to see where exactly the committee their minds.
They're 7. I'm looking at right now.
Are they really? Okay, because there's a 1-loss Oregon, but Washington. Again, the reason it's like that right now is because Texas still needs to win their conference.
Who did Oregon lose to?
Washington. And I believe they're playing against each other in the Pac-12 championship, but I'm not 100% sure about that.
Okay. Yeah, but I'm really excited.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's going to be one of the most intense endings to the season that we've had in a while.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's pretty much only been like the Ohio State-Michigan game.
Yep.
Competing for that last playoff spot.
Yep.
But this one, it comes down to like 6 different teams.
Yeah.
So I will be very tuned in the next 2 weeks.
So they have put Washington in too. Washington is 4.
Yeah.
This is their first
And again,
appearance.
whoever loses that Ohio State-Michigan game's out.
Yeah, because it's obvious Florida State drops with Travis getting hurt. So.
Yeah.
Okay, I got shit.
All right.
All right, we're out of here.
Next week.